your message for voters of color who are concerned that without the John L. Lewis Voting Rights Act, they're not going to be able to vote in the midterm?
Well, the concern is misplaced because if you look at the statistics, African American voters are voting in just as high a percentage as Americans.
Okay, so if you've kept your eye on the political uh, landscape, I guess you could say, you'll know who Mitch McConnell is. Now, he said something rather interesting earlier today, I believe. He said African Americans are voting just as much as Americans. Now, this is a weird thing to say, just purely because, but I want to look at it from a few different angles. So, let's say that it was an honest mistake. As a politician, you have to watch your words. Like, that's like probably like rule number one, like, or high up there, you know? And it's just silly, like, and the fact that he hasn't issued like an apology, and I've looked, and I've checked his Twitter account as of the recording of this video. It's 6:09 at January 1st, so we'll see if he comes out with something. But let's say he really is racist, which I doubt somewhat because of things I'll get on to later on in the video. But why would you come out and say this? It serves you no purpose to say something like this. Like, you don't like, let's say in this is a hypothetical right here, right? Let's say he's a white supremacist, right? How does he help his cause by saying something like this? I think it's if you're in certain spaces on YouTube, something that's become really prevalent would be the self-report. People say, "Oh, that was a self-report. This was a self." Well, I think this was somewhat of a self-report on some level, even if he's not racist. Maybe he just doesn't watch his words to the level that he should be as a politician and as somebody who's at a high level. You know, when you're at this high of a level as humans, we tend to just watch people and say like you have to be as perfect as possible at this job, or you're gonna get repercussions. And this was a repercussion. Him saying that in and of itself is a repercussion in a way. But uh, this it I would have just brushed it off as something silly, but I decided to take a deeper look into Mitch McConnell. So I started doing some research, and I found a picture. Well, before I got into my research, what really sparked me to want to go that way was I found a picture of Mitch McConnell standing in front of a Confederate flag, and I was like, oh, well, there has to be some sort of explanation to this, but we're gonna get into that. So, first we have this article from Snopes. It says, commercial photograph of Senator Mitch McConnell resurfaced after Democrat. This is a tweet. Just gonna lose of flags. I'm gonna read. The 8th of February 2017, Kentucky State Democrat posted a picture on Twitter that appeared to show Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell receiving an award while posing in front of a large Confederate backdrop. The tweet followed a contentious session on the floor of the U.S. Senate on the eve of the swearing in as U.S. Attorney General of Alabama Senator Jeff Sessions, whose nomination by Donald Trump to head the country's top law enforcement agent had been controversial from the start. In 1986, Ronald Reagan had nominated Sessions for a federal judgeship, but that nomination was struck down by a Republican-led Judiciary Committee over allegations that Sessions had a history of racial insensitivity. So this just came at a weird time to post this. Or no, the Democrats posted it, so I think it was more perfectly timed for them. And alright, I'm just gonna keep reading. McConnell's decision to censure Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren when she attempted to read a letter written by slain civil rights icon Martin Luther King Jr.'s widow, Coretta Scott King, opposing Sessions' 1986 confirmation, only drew more controversy to an already heated topic. Now, this just sort of feeds flames to the fire. I'm sort of building a case. By the title of this video, you can tell that I'm just trying to see, kind of research, and to form an opinion on Mitch McConnell. So, yeah, I'm going to head over to an article from kydemocrats.com. These are the people who posted the picture of Mitch McConnell in front of the Confederate flag. He was younger. He looks to be about 40 in the picture, but that's not really important. It says, shocking video reveals McConnell defending Confederate flag, honoring slave-owning ancestors. Another chapter in Mitch McConnell's long history of dog whistling and defense of the Confederacy was brought to the forefront over the weekend, after a Kentucky-based investigative journalist unearthed old videos and writings about McConnell's defense of the Confederate flag in the 1990s. The Twitter thread documents how McConnell supported an attempt by racist U.S. Senator Jesse Helms to give a patent protecting the Confederate flag to a sympathetic group. In a video, McConnell says, "I revere those forefathers of mine because they did what they thought was appropriate in their time, and that he voted for Patton out of respect for my ancestors and their roots which ran deep in the South. McConnell's ancestors owned slaves." Now, this personally to me is unacceptable, okay? It doesn't matter what they thought then. We know now that slavery is not okay, was never okay, and will never be okay. So he should have said that, and he could have still honored his ancestors. He could have said, oh, my ancestors, despite what my ancestors did, I still believe they deserve honor. And that would have been fine. He didn't have to excuse it, because it's not an excusable thing. I'm going to keep reading. After the vote, McConnell also had no problem receiving multiple accolades from Confederacy supporting organizations, including receiving an award in front of a huge Confederate flag. McConnell again said that he was proud of the vote. Mitch owes Kentuckians an explanation and an apology. Period. Full stop. Watching this video and think I am biased against Republicans. I am not. I don't really have a party affiliation. I'm just presenting the facts as they are presented to me. So I want to read this passage, and it is from the Daily Caller. It's an article entitled "Mitch McConnell, Racist or a Longtime Civil Rights Ally?" I'll link it in the description. In 1964, an ambitious young student at the University of Louisville made an impassioned plea to his classmates, urging them to march in solidarity with Martin Luther King Jr. At the time, Kentucky was no haven for race reformers. It was dominated by some of the same elements of the Democratic Party that vehemently rejected the notion of civil rights. Nonetheless, this 20-year-old activist called for strong statutes, state and federal, to protect the dignity of minorities. This student's name was Mitch McConnell. Now, humans are complex people, you know? Two things can be going on in their head at once, and that's a bad sort of example of cognitive dissonance, but essentially what I'm getting at here is that, there's a lot of factors going on here. So I don't think Mitch McConnell is like this, like, oh yeah, well, see, we just don't like black people. We just don't like them, and we don't want them around. I don't think that. What I do think is he has some antiquated views that negatively affect black people, and I think he should be more educated in the subjects that he was talking about. Who that education is by, I don't know. But that brings up another issue of the fact that we don't have like a sort of a litmus test for senators. There are senators in there, and I know people joke and they're like, oh, well, Everybody in government's an idiot, And I'll joke along with people, I get it, right? But it doesn't have to be that way. It'd be nice if we had people in there who were tested on their knowledge of America, their general knowledge, past America, especially if they're in that voting on policies that affect outside of our American bubble. But back to Mitch McConnell, do I think he's racist? Well, I think there's a lot of factors that go into that. You can't really say, oh, they are or they aren't, because at the end of the day, I don't know their heart. I mean, if he comes out tomorrow and he's like, yeah, we want to stop as many black people from voting as possible, or as many African Americans as voting as possible, then yes, I will hear this man is racist because of racist thing to say. But as it stands right now, all I can really say is that you should form your own opinions, okay? You shouldn't watch this video and just go, oh, he is or isn't. I think you should sit down and, just like I did, do your own research and, like I said earlier, form your own opinion. So, yeah, that about wraps it up. Thank you for watching. I am out. Peace. Also, when my videos get posted,